Hello everyone, welcome to the Crystaly Recapped channel. The new teacher at a private school teaches the method of mindful eating. Over time, her lessons become increasingly strange, and the class begins to resemble a religious cult. The film, based on behavior control, eating disorders, and private schooling, features a group of young privileged students who hold meetings with the new teacher, Miss Novak, to discuss the mindful eating course, another trendy diet direction like vegetarianism and the paleo diet. One of the students, Ben, often confesses that he needs an extra point for a scholarship. Miss Novak asks what will happen if you eat a chocolate bar. Will it decrease or increase? The first to experiment is a young man named Fred. While he performs breathing exercises before mindfully eating the chocolate, the story shifts to the principal's office, where Miss Novak came to apply for the job. The principal explains that in the private school, students are nurtured because they are talented and their whims are encouraged, allowing children to compete with each other like spiders in a jar. Mindful eating is trendy enough to practice. Delighted with the new job, Miss Novak gives the employer a pack of tea with her face on the package. At dinner, the parents ask the vegetarian Ragna about the progressive teacher and ask her to demonstrate mindful eating. She carefully breathes, as Miss Novak taught her, after piercing a piece of vegetarian pizza. Later, it turns out that it was the father who suggested the new dietitian to the school. However, not all parents are pleased. Elsa's father dislikes that his daughter just looks at the food instead of eating it. Succumbing to patriarchal pressure, the girl eats, but then carefully spits the food out in the toilet, which is noticed by her mother, who also suffers from bulimia. Learning that Fred is not going home for the weekend, Miss Novak invites him to her office to meditate. After this, Fred does ballet, and Ragna practices trampoline jumps under the coach's supervision. At the next Mindful Eating Club meeting, Fred shares that focusing on the taste and texture of food allows him to feel full with less food, which positively affected his fatigue caused by diabetes and reduced his insulin intake. Miss Novak talks about another beneficial property of self-restriction in food, autophagy, a recently discovered phenomenon where the body's cells eat themselves, starting with the least useful and harmful elements. Activating this mechanism is the essence of mindful eating. When asked if a person weakens due to a lack of food, the teacher refers to Fred's experience and says that autophagy not only cures diseases, but also extends life. Inspired by these ideas, the students in the school cafeteria sit as a separate group, neatly and arrogantly enjoying the breathing procedures with the enticing aroma of their superiority before eating. Miss Novak notices Ben having lunch without any fuss, even reading a book, doing several things at once like Julius Caesar. Noticing her, the young man switches to mindful eating, considering the dietitian's constructive remarks. The other students look at him disapprovingly, and the girls discuss Ben secretly after lunch. In response, he tells Elsa that she wants to be noticed, and he sees her. Not understanding what he means, the girls leave, thinking that Ben just has a crush on her. Miss Novak praises Elsa for her willpower. The girl confesses that she would like not to consume food at all, despite her father's pressure. The teacher encourages her, saying that ordinary people are scared when something challenges established views, especially the idea that you can't survive without food. While practicing meditation, Fred tells his neighbor Ben that he won't win Elsa's heart if he keeps eating and disobeying Miss Novak. Ben retorts that he doesn't want to be like them. In the next lesson, the teacher explains with cards that most food is harmful to the body and mind, so they are moving to the next level, a plant-based mono diet. Now, students can only eat one type of vegetable or fruit at a time. After the lesson, some students express doubts about the diet's feasibility, but Fred fully supports the teacher. The young minds, as always, have differing opinions. While Ben nonchalantly eats a chocolate bar, others discuss how their vegetarianism will affect global warming. At lunch, the boys eat one piece of potato each, sighing deeply as per the special technique. Only Ragna stands out from the group. Summoning her willpower, Ragna confesses to Miss Novak that she lost control due to hunger. The teacher encourages the girl and says she will save her by giving her a signature pack of tea. Fred calls his parents, who live and work with his younger brother in another country. He wants to visit them, but they insist that he must finish school first. Disappointed, the boy cannot concentrate on ballet. To restore his peace of mind, he goes to Miss Novak. They talk about his parents, who left him in the private school. However, Miss Novak is dissatisfied that not all students are enthusiastic about her. She informs the principal that she cannot give Ben the necessary point for a full scholarship, despite his academic success and the fact that he is being raised by a single mother. The principal calls Ben to persuade him to be more mindful of his eating. Classmates, supporting the teacher, ask Elsa to influence Ben, as it would be easier due to his affection for her. In the next lesson, when the teacher asks about the reasons for his stubbornness, Ben admits that he fears that undereating will hinder his concentration on studies. Miss Novak counters that her lessons have proven the opposite. Under the pressure of circumstances and the group, the boy agrees to try mindful eating once more. Then the whole group holds hands and chants a mantra. At home, during dinner, Ben honestly tries to eat according to the school method. His mother, seeing that he doesn't like the new method, asks him not to take silly ideas seriously, despite the influence of the renowned dietitian, but the young man just sighs silently. Miss Novak praises Elsa and Ragna for their success in mindful eating and suggests they go further. The teacher talks about a certain secret society, the Food Abstainers, also known as the Zero Club. Despite abstaining from food, the club constantly grows, and its members believe that this abstinence positively affects the body, mind, and nature. When Ragna asks how this is possible scientifically, the teacher responds that the justification is still being developed, but they must have faith. Fred, dressed in pink and with accentuated eyes, goes to the opera with Miss Novak. After the performance, they meet Mr. Doc, the dance teacher. Later, after finishing the lesson, Miss Novak asks the students to follow the first rule of Zero Club, not to tell anyone about the club to avoid unnecessary questions, promising eternal life instead. However, after this lesson, 2 students immediately drop out, realizing that faith alone is not enough. The remaining 5, rejoicing at joining the secret knowledge, are eager to move to a new level of being. At dinner at home, Elsa says she is not hungry. Her mother, smiling, confesses that she is glad her daughter inherited her mental illness. Ragna chooses a different path, lying to her parents that she has already eaten. When her lie is discovered, she throws a tantrum and goes to her room. Classmates exchange messages, rejoicing. Ragna's parents try to convince her to stop fasting, but she lies, saying it's temporary, just a homework assignment. Meanwhile, Ben's mother takes action. She goes to the principal, accusing Miss Novak of manipulating the children. The principal cannot agree, as it would mean she hired a fraud, but she decides to check on the students in the cafeteria. The children follow one another closely, making sure no one eats anything. When questioned, they say they feel fine, but Fred has no energy for ballet lessons. Without eating anything, the children throw their lunches in the trash. At the Parents' Day concert, Fred still performs a dance number to the teacher's delight. Nevertheless, the principal calls Miss Novak in for a talk. She is displeased about having divulged her beliefs. In the evening, she meditates and prays to a certain Almighty Mother, in whose name she fulfills her duty. The students boast to each other about how great they feel. Even Fred has stopped taking insulin. Later, he dances with Ragna, but when they nearly kiss, he smells food and accuses her of secretly eating. The girl denies it, but the moment is lost and trust is shattered. In the morning, Ben tries to wake Fred, but his neighbor refuses to get up and looks a bit pale. He is taken to the hospital, where it turns out that stopping insulin has led to ketoacidosis, an imbalance of the body's acid-base levels. Due to the incident, even his father flies in to find out what happened. Although his son now has an automatic insulin pump, the man is worried about his emaciation. He asks the principal why the students aren't being fed at the private school, but she assures him that everything is fine. After dealing with the formalities, the father leaves. Ragna eats nut butter from a tube in her room, then goes to the principal to express her concern that Miss Novak has feelings for Fred, far from platonic. Mr. Doc confirms this suspicion by recounting the opera. The principal realizes that the dietitian has become dangerous to the students, and when the parent committee finds out, they are inclined to side with Miss Novak. Nevertheless, for violating the ban on communication outside of school. The question of her dismissal is discussed. Opinions immediately split, but the majority vote to suspend the teacher. Upon receiving the principal's message, Miss Novak returns home, where she again addresses the Almighty Mother. Her prayer is interrupted by a knock on the door. Fred has come to visit the teacher, confessing that he will always believe in her. The young man kisses the woman. Elsa's father forces her to eat sausages, raging when his daughter drags out the time, slowly cutting them up. But the battle with mental disorders doesn't end. He even put a lock on the bathroom door so his daughter couldn't go to vomit immediately. Even Ben, previously defiant, refuses his mother's dish. Ragna's father tries to apologize to his daughter for not defending Miss Novak, but the girl drives him away. The next day, Elsa locks herself in her room, declaring a hunger strike. Refusing food makes a person free from the capitalist system. She, having achieved self-knowledge, claims that by willpower she can change reality, not just live without food. As proof, Elsa says she caused the rain, which indeed started outside. Bringing a tray of food, her parents visit their daughter. Her father asks what she wants, and Elsa says that only Miss Novak can change her worldview. They then organize a meeting of parents whose children have been affected by her lessons. The parents want to discuss the situation with Miss Novak. Ben's mother reminds them that it is because of her that their children are now consciously starving. But, since the children only trust her, they have to turn to her. The parents bring the children to Miss Novak's house, where Fred is already waiting. Everyone except Helene, whose concern for the environment doesn't prevent her from traveling the world. They tell how much they have changed. In the evening, Fred calls his parents to say he will not come to them, staying at school instead. Then he goes to celebrate Christmas at Ben's. At the table, the boys even eat a little to please Ben's mother. Ragna and Elsa also eat a bit, to gradually get their bodies used to food. However, the next morning the parents find farewell notes instead of their children, asking them not to look for them as they are now in a better world forever. The camera zooms in on a painting hanging in Miss Novak's room. There, in the depth of the landscape, she, Elsa, Ragna, Ben, and Fred walk. Since no bodies were found, the parents convene a council to question Helene, the only surviving follower of Miss Novak. The girl says that her friends will live forever while she, due to her untimely travels, will rot with everyone else. Elsa's mother, suffering from bulimia, suggests also refusing food to understand the motives of the missing children. Helene says that besides this, faith is needed. This is the end of the movie. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.